Alright, so Trouble Trevor, and I are here at the 2024 Mooresville Civil War Re-enactment. And here we're dressed authentically for, obviously, the Civil War, where he plays a undertaker, and I play a preacher.
Yep. So we're here representing 1864, um, Civil War days, like you said, at Mooresville. Uh, this is South Haven, Michigan, and probably show you around our camp and show you what we got.
Alright, so we actually have an incredible view of this beautiful covered bridge. Just finished our supper, where a battle erupted around us while we were having supper. However, here are our digs. Trevor set up a massive tent and fly, or we have many period artifacts and later artifacts. So, for example, this was probably given to a Confederate wife in the 20s or 30s after her husband passed away to suggest that he was remembered by their fraternal organization. But similarly, here we have a GAR banner from the Union fraternal organization that formed after the Civil War. Here we have a late 1860s, early 1870s paper trunk and Ottoman jewelry box. Obviously there's our oil can, there's our barrel that I'm using for my wash basin. There's our water that actually did come out of a well. Yeah, the chairs are East Lake. However, I think they're sufficient for our needs. Who's going to know the difference? I mean, after all, we do have many period pieces. 1860 to 1880. This should be 1850s. That's 1856. A lot of transferware. These handleless cups are very early. This early biscuit tray from 1849. Early nutcracker. This plate is 1854 to 1856. There's Trevor's original silverware. My silverware is newer. Unfortunately, I don't have the budget to get everything I want at once. However, the plate's 1850s. The bowl, the spongeware is correct for the period. Not sure when it's actually aged to. New England redware. There's Trevor's candle lanterns. However, I made a Civil War style lantern out of... This is what's left of a percolator, an oil can, and some miscellaneous lamp parts, and some fence wire that I hit with a lawnmower.
I love that you created that all by yourself. That's pretty incredible.
And look what you built, a very nice tent.
Yeah.
Here we have my 1811 musket that was unfortunately converted to a percussion cap. Toolbox. One of the other displays, this circular from 1860, advertising various seeds. However, it's double-sided. It was until I dropped it, destroyed it. Just kidding, it's not destroyed. 1850s powder horn, reproduction shot bag, some random hat that has magically materialized out of nowhere. Neighbors. Poison ivy. Here, this is from 1870, however, it's filled with recipes and stuff from 1870 to about 1929, I think. If I get it open. Just a beautiful piece to let people handle. This is Trevor's writing desk. Trevor, can you take your gun? And I put inside of it, for people to look at, Civil War era letters. Some of them are actually from a Union soldier who deserted and fled to Canada. And then there's actually some responses from his wife. So presumably they got back together at some point. Around 1867, I included basically everything from him. I also included some letters as far back as 1848, just for historical context. There's some fascinating ones, really. One about a guy who's an invalid, as they called it back in the day. He wants to become a telegrapher, but the telegrapher school is unfortunately in the 3rd story, and there's nobody willing to carry him up to the 3rd story. Another interesting letter is there's a soldier, a Union soldier, who is seeing all these wonderful farm inventions. These here are sermons, actually. He's seeing these wonderful farm machinery inventions, but he has zero interest in them and thinks that they're actually not even worth a penny. He'd rather do everything by hand. Let me just take my original silk hat off. There's all sorts of wonderful things. However, to me, what's a treasure to me, other than having original glasses with my prescription in them, I'm wearing another pair, is that I brought displays from my own house. Now, this wallpaper is from 1863. This wallpaper would be late 1850s. This was the first wallpaper, maybe as early as 1856, and this one's 1862. Now, how do I know some of these dates specifically? Well, other than the fact that these wallpapers are behind these ones are dated because there is newspaper on the back. And obviously the newspaper is dated, in this case, 1863. These are from my house. It was preserved behind the plaster, which was put up by the second family, the Nightingales, in 1876, because the Meissners moved out in 1874. So that wallpaper covered the walls. The newspaper was insulation and to prevent the rough bare wood walls from tearing through the paper. And between the overlapped staggered boards was all this fabric. This fabric dates between 1856, when the house was built, and 1863. So we see many wonderful colors and patterns here. It's a beautiful feather pattern. Here is actually Anson Meissner's frock coat, I do believe, this very heavy-duty felted wool. Here we have a lovely seaweed pattern. And some of these are actually doubled. So this was sewn with another pattern on the back. This pattern, actually. So presumably that was cut off of a woman's dress. So this is actually the clothes that the original family wore in 1856 to 1863, when they finally got around to papering. This I see in a lot of daguerreotypes and ambrotypes, these glass photographs. This was always a men's pattern, so I know this was worn by one of the men. Now, obviously, things like, let's see, well, probably these flowers, which look surprisingly modern but aren't, well, that'd be women's. Probably these berries and diamonds, stars, I don't know. There's fascinating insight into colors and patterns of the era. This is one of my most prized possessions. However, just as interesting, while we are tearing out some of the window trim to repair the walls, the structure, because the house did suffer a major fire, 3 of them actually, and other heavy damage and butchering from previous owners, this 1855 letter fell out, and while it exploded, I obviously reconstructed it with removable archival tape. And it's a very dry letter from the Meissner's cousins in Jackson, Michigan, which is actually another Civil War reenactment we went to, ironically. But it's still a nice, tangible connection to the original family. Another interesting thing is that, though this is a floorboard, the house walls are actually twice as thick and staggered, which makes them even doubly so. All the boards in the house were numbered with this red ochre. So on the master plan, number 18 would represent a certain size. And that certain size would obviously correspond to where it's supposed to go. So the house is basically a kit house from the sawmill down the road at the fish farm. The family's name is Fish. They didn't actually have any fish. They're landlocked. So the sawmill down the road cut it and numbered it according to a plan. Here we have just original engraving. Got some leaves on it. Old wrought iron milk fork. Some wax sealers. I actually have food in some of them. Beautiful, like, burnishing and whatnot. This one's just a regular jar, but here's another wax sealer that's containing our flour right now. Pickling jar. Yeah, some of these bottles are newer, like this one would be like 1890s, but I'm using this for our olive oil. This jug we have full of cider. So if you guys are thirsty, well, there you go. Here's a gravitating stopper. If I can get my camera to focus. That's patented in 1864. I didn't get any pop, otherwise I would have put that in there. The 1858s. They made them the same to the 20s, but who else is going to tell the difference? And here we have some wonderful artifacts from the family. So, for example, that's what's left of a cup. And I have the matching plates and stuff that I dug up. There's an 1860s frozen Charlotte doll. There's a bone button, probably from the 1860s. My buttons are also bone. 1840s hand coloring by someone named Stella. Here we have some period photographs. The fact that it has these stamps on them, that's the tax stamps they put on around 1863 to 1866, I think, for the Civil War to pay for it, so that always helps date the photos. I was able to date this one. That's from my house. So, we got our flying eagle, my favorite, though most short-lived, penny design that replaced the large cent and was replaced within 3 years by the Indian head. Then we have our patriotic tokens. Sorry, a lot of these things have been handled today by the tourists, so they're kind of out of order. 1860 train ticket. You know, there's all sorts of wonderful things. There's some of Trevor's relatives that lived actually in this very area. Here is a tintype we had done of us at a previous Civil War reenactment. We actually just had some new ones done today because this one kind of came out cloudy and stuff. Old barrel. Interesting thing about my house's history is a little child fell off the porch and drowned in a barrel, approximately just like this in the later 1800s. We're going to have waffles tomorrow. Anyway, if we take a step inside, we're covering some of our modern things. It's just a curtain. I took it out of the house because we're remodeling curtain currently. Wow, Trevor, your pocket watch is so loud. I can hear it over my voice. Yeah, modern trunk, but this is what I'm storing all the fragile stuff in. Here's my Cunard line hat box that would hold my silk hat. I think it's 1880s. It's a very early label. Here's my writing desk that I made just out of random things, like an old suitcase. I cut up some wood. There's some antique paper. My writing surface, little homemade hinges. My homemade pen. These are interchangeable. You can change up the design however you need it. This is just what I use because this is more convenient. It's my fountain pen. However, this holds ink, but it also doubles as a wax sealer for stamping your letters. So, very convenient, very portable. And as I latch that, it'll hold itself with a metal detected buckle from my property. My blanket is an early 1900s buggy blanket, but it suffices. This is my rope bed. Unfortunately, this stove is a lot newer, but this is just what we're using to keep warm with because, well, this is October in Michigan. It's cold. So people seem really impressed with the rope bed. I got this for like $5 at Goodwill. I was thrilled. I just bought this shirt today from a reenactor. I bought it mostly because it has bone buttons. Yeah, one's damaged, but I can replace that. It's just, I'm really thrilled to get a period-looking shirt with bone buttons already installed, because that's what I want, the bone buttons. Some period-style suspenders. Don't remember if I showed you guys the suspender hook out there. My 1828 Bible. Mostly a prop. This is one that I got out of the trash from 1860, and I put these boards on it and did all this design work. I tightened up the binding so I can't really open it because it's still relatively new, and I put in these boards. But yeah, this is the Smith family Bible. This is my actual prop for running around camp with. Old matches that are actually just storing modern-ish matches. supposed to be my pocket watch holder. This book from 1870 I'm currently reading. Pilgrim's Progress, 1848. Old hymnal, Victorian. Beautiful hymnal inside with all the advertisements. Some of Trevor's books. I haven't actually looked at them yet, so I'm not sure what they are. Trevor's bed. Blood-stained tent full of flies. I'm going to have to bring some smoking brands into here. My oldest lantern. Oops, I did not mean to zoom in. That's only from like the 1890s. It's brass, but that's one that I've used for years. My canteen is old. It's from like World War I-ish era, a little bit earlier. It's actually just a light bulb socket, basically, that gets screwed into there. Not period correct, but close enough for me. Beautiful setting sun. Our coolers are down there. I have baking powder in this antique baking powder tin. It's not period correct, but people don't know that. Here we have my 1860 patent. I can't get the camera to focus. Glasses case with the original felt intact for some of my glasses. These are ones I let the tourists play with to see through the eyes of the dead. Here we have some labeled, mostly bottled bottles. So these would be about 1848 to 1861 at the newest on some of these. The Bear's Oil, you probably can't tell that one back there, not that one, but that one actually is a technically 3-color label, white, green, and it was blue. We have the Elixir of Life, I think that was 1855. Neuropathic Drops, that was 1859. 1853, basically laudanum. Great American Remedy, 1855, and an 1855 poison. Here we have a syringe I brought as a prop for Trevor, since he's playing an Undertaker. Victorian, beautiful rolled lip, all sorts of wonderful details. That is a pommel bottle that I dug up at the house in the 1860 trash pit, along with that suspender clip. Gar stuff. The guy on the left is either a pastor or a theologian. He's wearing a cross, and that's a theology book. This guy just had a very nice 1850s frock coat on. 1860s. That's what that would have come from. I'm wearing one that was made no newer than 1927 because Leith & Young of Detroit went out of business then. Now, Trevor's got us a roaring fire. It's probably going to consume the whole world, and I see he changed his hat. Original wood D-handle shovels. Got anything you'd like to say, Trevor?
I mean, I'm not sure what Robbie just discussed in the whole video, but if anyone's interested in Civil War reenacting, I think that you should be able to reach out to us in comments or anything. We can maybe get you to join up with us. We could always use more. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't really listening, unfortunately.
Oh.
I was building you a fire.
For what? I already made a supper.
Well, just sit by and enjoy. You need more water in the pitcher?
No, I haven't changed it in the bowl yet.
Alright.
Hand cart I recently restored. That's been very useful. I do need to fill the oil lamps tonight. But yes, this is our setup. Our emergency 1860. The Union attacked us 3 times. In fact, there was a battle ongoing around me, specifically me, Trevor wasn't here, as I was having supper. I feel like that's like the 3rd time they've congregated around me. Maybe it's because I'm the pastor and they feel like I have it in with God to protect them. I don't know. So I guess they figured that the pastor can't die. And we can, but yes, this is our setup. our first Civil War reenactment, and I hope you liked it. So have a great day, everybody.